I suppose you're all wondering why I've summoned you here tonight. I wanted to start this chapter off with an appropriate quote. Let's see. I was born a poor black child, by Navin Johnson. Close, but that one isn't quite right. The details of my life are quite inconsequential, by Dr. Evil. That's more like it. But here we go anyway with the obligatory biography early life chapter. I'll try not to make it too painful. My parents, Mike and Nancy, were married on October 15th, 1977 in the San Francisco Bay Area. It was apparently a hip 70s wedding. Their first dance was to Chicago's Color My World, and the groomsmen wore ruffled tuxedos. After the reception, the newlyweds were whisked away in a 1932 Packard. They were from large Catholic families. My dad was 23 and the youngest child of 4. My mom was just 20 years old and the middle child of 5. They had met at a grocery store near San Francisco called QFI, not in the produce aisle like in some romantic comedy, where in the trailer their eyes meet as they both reach for the last piece of okra and the voiceover says, "This summer, there's love on aisle 7. They both worked there. I was told that QFI stood for Quality Foods International and was at one point the third largest grocery store chain in the San Francisco Bay Area. I would argue that by confining yourself to one geographic region, you forfeit the right to call yourselves international, but I admire their bravado. Less than 3 months after the wedding, my mom found out she was pregnant with me. This would be a shock for any 20-year-old newlywed, but it was especially shocking for my mom, who had a copper IUD inserted in her at the time. For those of you who weren't sexually active women in the 1970s, a copper IUD, intrauterine device, was a form of birth control that a doctor would implant inside a woman's hoo-ha, the technical term for her reproductive organs. Worldwide is the most commonly used type of reversible birth control, meaning a doctor can remove it from a woman's body at any time. The failure rate for these devices is low, especially in the first year, as low as 0.1%. Yet my mom's IUD failed, resulting in a bald, bouncing baby boy. I know what you're thinking, and I agree. This can only mean that I am the chosen one. I was born on September 13th, 1978 in San Mateo, California, about 15 minutes south of San Francisco. Like most babies, I was born bald, and I actually had a nice full head of hair until I was about 13 years old, when it began falling out. So you could say I had a run of about 12 good years with hair. 3 years after me, my brother Adam was born in 1982. So by the time my parents were in their mid-20s, they had been married for 4 years and had 2 young sons. I spent the first 9 years of my life in San Bruno, California, also about 15 minutes south of San Francisco. Growing up in San Bruno was like growing up in Manchester, England, with slightly better food. It was constantly cold and foggy. In every picture of me taken outside from birth to age 9, I'm wearing a coat or sweater or both. There are pictures of me at the beach with a heavy jacket on. Fortunately, there aren't a lot of pictures of me outside. I was known as the indoor kid, and Adam was known as the outdoor kid. Ironically, this has stayed true all the way to our current professions. I crack wise on a podcast, indoors, and Adam is a project manager for one of the largest landscaping companies in the Bay Area, outdoors. And by landscaping, I don't mean they arrange rocks and cacti in your neighbor's front yard. They build and maintain Stanford's athletic fields, for example. We weren't poor, or if we were, I didn't know it, but we definitely weren't rich. My parents hadn't gone to college. In fact, at that point, nobody in my family had. I came from a blue-collar family. My dad's dad, my grandpa Frank, was a garbage man in San Bruno. My mom's dad, my grandpa Robert Lorenzini, or as he was known to everyone, Babe, was a fire captain in South San Francisco. But from their working-class upbringing, my parents had learned resourcefulness. For example, my mom learned how to decorate cakes when she had me, so when it came time for special request birthday cakes, she was able to make them herself. One year I had a Big Bird cake, complete with yellow coconut shavings. Another year I had a sweet Transformers cake, upon which my mom had drawn a Decepticon's insignia. The year? 2007, and I was 29 years old. Were they equal to the quality of something you might see on Ace of Cakes? No, but they were close, and for a fraction of the cost. And I never knew the difference. All I knew was that I had a totally awesome Transformers birthday cake, and all the other kids were jealous. And they were even more jealous when I polished off my 5th piece of cake. I was a fat kid. This resourcefulness wasn't just reserved for cakes. My childhood birthday parties featured games that were usually along the lines of pin the tail on the donkey, beanbag toss, or sack races, all homemade, of course. Perhaps the best example of my parents' resourcefulness when it came to party games was a relay race where 2 teams of kids took turns running across the yard to a pile of my parents' old clothes, and the first team to throw the clothes on over their own clothes and then tear them off again were the winners. Not exactly heady stuff, but you know what? We had a blast. Kids don't care how much you spend on their birthday parties. Adults care how much you spend on your kids' birthday parties. My parents probably spent $35 total on tiny bean bags, a piece of plywood, and some paint for my birthday. Compare that to a few $100 for an afternoon bounce house rental, which kids are going to get tired of after about half an hour, and pony rides, which are probably going to give your kids encephalitis. Add in the inevitable lawsuit when the pony wrangler gets drunk and accidentally drops his overalls, and it's just not worth it.